Earth was on the edge. The great wars of the past century had ravaged nations, entire ecosystems had been destroyed, and the population was on the brink of collapse. The world seemed to have no hope left when the first ships arrived. They were not the grand, impressive vessels humanity had imagined when first dreaming of alien visitors. Instead, they were nothing more than dull metallic boxes, barely holding together. Each one was like a giant, discarded shipping container, covered in dents and scratches with no markings of origin. The Earth's leaders scrambled to respond. What was this strange gift or curse? Was it a trap or a message to humankind? The ships arrived without fanfare or explanation. They simply hovered above the major capitals, before slowly descending to the ground. Each ship opened to reveal piles of seemingly useless junk, broken technology, ancient relics that appeared to have no purpose. One ship contained parts of old engines, some twisted and rusted. Another housed strange mechanical arms and parts of robotics. But nothing worked. It was just scrap left behind by a forgotten people. At first the world laughed. Many thought it was some elaborate prank or a cruel joke from other alien species trying to mock humanity. Others thought it might be some kind of test that the visitors were setting up to see how humanity would respond. A few desperate leaders wanted to burn the ships, destroy the junk, and declare war, but that would have only led to disaster. And so it was decided to keep the ships intact and begin studying them. Perhaps there was something valuable hidden among the wreckage. After all, humanity had nothing to lose. Eva Hartley was one of the leading scientists assigned to examine the ship. She had long been skeptical about the notion of aliens coming to help humanity. She'd seen enough of human suffering to doubt anyone would offer assistance without expecting something in return. But as she and her team began to study the technology in detail, something unusual became clear. The items may have appeared broken or obsolete on the surface, but beneath the dirt and rust, there were blueprints and instructions hidden in places no one would have thought to look. These were not just random parts. They were pieces of a puzzle, an advanced technological marvel that had been discarded by its creators, yet somehow preserved in the wreckage. Her heart raced as she deciphered the first set of instructions. It was a guide for building a quantum engine, something far beyond human understanding, an engine that could power entire cities with no need for fuel. The implications were staggering. If this technology could be replicated, humanity could reverse the damage done to the planet, provide clean energy for everyone, and leave behind the scars of war and famine. Soon other breakthroughs followed. Strange objects began to glow with energy never before seen by human eyes, and even as doubts about the origins of the technology grew, the possibilities became undeniable. The junk was not just trash, it was a gift, if humanity could learn to use it and adapt it to their needs. But as the excitement spread across the globe, so did tension. The aliens who had sent the ships remained silent, never responding to humanity's attempts to make contact. No messages, no explanations, just empty ships with their treasures waiting to be unlocked. The question now was, what did they want from humanity? And what would happen when they found out that Earth was not just going to accept the junk, but build something powerful with it? The first breakthrough came faster than anyone had expected. Eva and her team had worked around the clock studying the alien technology, but nothing had prepared them for the moment when a strange engine finally hummed to life. The energy shield prototype was the first success, a shimmering barrier that could withstand the force of an entire missile barrage. This was just the beginning. It seemed the more they uncovered, the more they realized what they had found. It wasn't just junk. It was a treasure trove of lost knowledge and advanced technology. News of the success spread quickly. Governments around the world turned their attention to the alien ships. Countries began pooling their resources to accelerate the research. No one could ignore the potential. It was a new dawn for Earth. They had been given the opportunity to rebuild and lead the galaxy if they played their cards right. But not everyone was as enthusiastic as Eva and the other scientists. Some factions within Earth's governments feared the power the alien technology offered. There were whispers of corruption and greed. If this technology fell into the wrong hands, it could turn Earth into a new empire, one ruled by force and domination. Some even argued that humanity had no right to harness such power, that it was a violation of the very principles they had fought to uphold. Despite these fears, humanity's progress was unstoppable. Eva Hartley stood at the forefront of it, all she argued that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They could rebuild the planet with this technology, heal the wounds of the past, and create a peaceful future. But even she knew there were dangers in their quest for knowledge. The more they discovered about the alien devices, the more questions they had: who had created them, why had they left them behind, and what did it all mean for humanity's future? Just as things were beginning to take shape and humanity started to enjoy the fruits of their labor, an unexpected visitor arrived one night. A ship unlike the others appeared in the skies above the United Nations headquarters. It was sleek and intimidating in appearance. Its black surface seemed to absorb the light around it, and for a brief moment, the world held its breath. The alien ship communicated through a direct neural connection with the leaders of Earth. They were told that the gift of technology had not been given without reason. The Virak, as they introduced themselves, had watched humanity's progress for some time, but now the true test had begun. The message was clear: humanity was being tested. This was not just about technology. It was about how they would choose to use it. Would they use it to dominate the galaxy? Or would they learn to live in peace with the other civilizations who had existed for eons before them? The Virak warned humanity that the path to power was a dangerous one, and that not all races had survived it in the past. This revelation sent shockwaves through Earth's leadership. Eva had always thought the aliens were offering humanity a chance to rebuild and prosper, but now it seemed there was far more at stake than anyone had imagined. She couldn't help but wonder if the Virak had their own plans for the technology, or if they were merely trying to prevent humanity from repeating the same mistakes that had led to the fall of their own empire. As the world debated the message and what it meant for their future, the alien ships remained silent and unmoving in the skies above. The tension was palpable. The world was at a crossroads. Humanity had been given power and knowledge, but at what cost? Would they choose to use it for peace, or would they build an empire of their own? With the warning from the Virak still fresh in their minds, humanity's leaders and scientists gathered to discuss the future. There were those who argued that the power of the alien technology could not be ignored. Earth had suffered for too long to hesitate. Now the opportunity to rise and dominate the galaxy was within reach. And if the Virak were so concerned about humanity's intentions, why had they given them such advanced technology in the first place? Others, however, especially Eva Hartley, insisted that they could not rush into this new era with blind ambition. The Virak had left a clear warning: if humanity's rise mirrored the rise of the Virak Empire, it could lead to disaster. The decision was made to continue developing the technology, but with a focus on peace and cooperation. Humanity would seek to rebuild their homeworld. First, use the technology to end hunger, energy shortages, and heal the planet's environmental wounds. They would begin with humble goals. But as the first ships began to fly beyond Earth's atmosphere, and the colonies on the Moon and Mars started taking shape, it became clear that humanity was no longer just a fledgling species. With the creation of the first new colonies and the establishment of trade routes between Earth and its newly founded outposts, humanity began to see the potential of the Virak's gift. A new world order was beginning to form. The energy shields and gravity manipulation systems from the alien technology made life in space possible. Cities built on asteroids and moons became self-sustaining as humanity began to spread beyond Earth's fragile atmosphere. These colonies became the foundation of a new galactic civilization. However, not all alien species viewed humanity's rapid rise with the same optimism. Some older, more established empires saw humanity's growing influence as a direct threat to their own power. The Mantari, an ancient race of telepathic beings, had already ruled large swathes of the galaxy before humanity had even discovered space travel. The Mantari saw humanity's newfound power as a challenge to their dominance, and began to question the intentions of Earth's leaders. Despite the growing tension in the galaxy, humanity pushed forward. The development of faster-than-light travel was becoming a reality, and with it the prospect of traveling to distant stars and planets. The first human fleet was launched beyond the solar system. It was meant to be a peaceful mission to establish contact with other civilizations and offer the peace of Earth's new world. But as the fleet moved further into the unknown, they found signs of something more disturbing. In the far reaches of the galaxy, a previously unknown alien race appeared in human sensors. Their ships were massive, and their technology was far superior to anything humanity had developed so far. The first encounter was an ambush. The human fleet was attacked by a group of these unknown aliens who moved with terrifying precision. Their ships, almost impossible to track or fight back against the attacks, sent shockwaves through the human colonies, and the once unified front began to crack. The mantle of peace that humanity had built was now being tested by force. Despite the technological advantages of the new alien enemies, humanity held its ground. The newly developed energy shields held firm against the enemy's weapons, and the human fleet retaliated with devastating force. They managed to push the alien invaders back, but the damage was done. The war had begun, and humanity was now a player in a galaxy where power and violence ruled every decision. As the war escalated and alliances shifted, both human and alien factions were forced to take sides. The Varak finally spoke again, but their message was chilling. They reminded humanity that the power they had been given was not just a gift, but a test, and if they failed, the galaxy would fall into chaos and ruin, just as the Varak's empire had done before them. The fate of humanity was now uncertain, and the choices they made in the coming years would decide whether they would be a force for peace or the spark that ignited a galactic war. As the war between humanity and the unknown alien race spread throughout the galaxy, Earth's leadership was thrown into disarray. The once clear ideals of peace and cooperation now seemed like distant dreams. When faced with the reality of survival, the human military began to adapt quickly. Weapons powered by the Varak technology were refined, and new tactics were developed on the front lines. Humanity's forces held their ground, but the cost was mounting. The destruction was staggering. Entire colonies were lost as the enemy forces struck without warning and without mercy. In the midst of the chaos, Eva Hartley and her team continued their work on the alien technology, but now their efforts were focused on creating even more advanced weapons and defenses. Every breakthrough became crucial as more alien races were drawn into the conflict, either as allies of humanity or enemies of the unknown alien invaders. The human fleet grew larger and stronger, but it was clear that victory would not come easily. The unknown enemy had more resources, more ships, and more soldiers than humanity had ever imagined. Amid the violence and uncertainty, a new and startling discovery was made. Deep within the Varak technology, Eva's team uncovered a hidden archive. Buried within one of the larger ships, it was a detailed record of the Varak's rise to power. Their history was a tale of conquest and war, but also of a great and terrible weapon, one that had the power to destroy entire star systems. The weapon was known as the Starfall device, and according to the records, it had been used to bring the Varak Empire to its knees when their rivals discovered its destructive potential and turned it against them. The device had been hidden away ever since as a fail-safe to ensure no race would ever wield it again. The revelation sent shockwaves through humanity's leadership. If the Starfall device still existed and could be activated, then humanity's future could be in even greater danger than they had realized. The unknown alien invaders were not just attacking for power, they were trying to locate the Starfall device and use its unimaginable power to ensure their dominance over the galaxy. The Varak had left behind the key to the weapon's location, hidden in a series of encrypted files, but they had also warned that whoever tried to unlock the device would risk bringing about the galaxy's destruction. With the discovery of the Starfall device, humanity was faced with a terrifying choice. They could attempt to find and deactivate the weapon, preventing its use, but risking the wrath of the alien invaders who were desperate to control it, or they could try to use it for themselves and risk becoming the very thing the Varak had feared, an empire built on destruction and fear. Eva Hartley was once again thrust into a moral dilemma. She knew the consequences of using such power. She had seen what it had done to the Varak Empire, and she feared that humanity might be walking down the same dark path. As the search for the Starfall device intensified, Earth's leaders called for an alliance of human and alien forces to find and secure the weapon. But they were not the only ones looking. The unknown alien race had launched their own missions to locate the device first, and it was clear that the stakes had never been higher. If either side reached the device and activated it, the balance of power in the galaxy would shift forever. The race against time had begun, and the future of humanity and the galaxy itself hung in the balance. In the quiet of her lab, Eva stared at the encrypted files that held the location of the Starfall device. The weight of the decision pressed heavily on her mind. She knew that their next move could determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. But one thing was certain: no matter what choice humanity made, they would never be the same again. The search for the Starfall device had become an obsession. Humanity's leaders and scientists were determined to find it before the unknown alien invaders could lay their hands on it. The galaxy had already been plunged into war, and the possibility of using such a devastating weapon weighed heavily on the minds of everyone involved. The decision to form an alliance with the Vrak was not an easy one. Many on Earth were still wary of the Vrak and their true intentions, but with the stakes so high, they had little choice. Eva Hartley knew that the only way to prevent the galaxy from spiraling into chaos was to find the Starfall device and make sure it was either deactivated or destroyed forever. The device's potential for mass destruction could not be allowed to fall into the wrong hands. Yet there was a growing sense of unease among the human leadership. Many saw the alliance with the Vrak as a necessary evil, but there were also those who feared that humanity was simply exchanging one form of control for another. They questioned whether the Vrak truly had humanity's best interests at heart, or whether they were simply trying to manipulate Earth into becoming their new empire. As the alliance began to take shape, tensions ran high among the human military and their Vrak counterparts. While they shared a common enemy, distrust simmered beneath the surface. The Vrak were an ancient race with their own motivations, and it was unclear whether they truly wanted peace or whether they were simply waiting for the right moment to take advantage of humanity's weakness. The military's leadership began to fracture. Some advocated for a more aggressive approach, while others called for diplomacy with the alien factions that had joined the fight against the unknown invaders. But with the Starfall device still out there, no one could afford to waste time. While the political situation grew more complicated, Eva and her team continued their work on deciphering the final pieces of the Starfall device's location. Hidden deep within the wreckage of a long-abandoned Vrak colony, it was a dangerous mission, but the team had no choice. They could not let the weapon fall into enemy hands. They would have to venture into uncharted territory to find it, and they knew the risks all too well. The unknown aliens had spies everywhere, and there was no telling what would happen if they discovered humanity's intentions. At the same time, the rebellion on Earth was growing more intense. Factions that opposed the alliance with the Vrak began to take more drastic measures. They believed that humanity's future should not depend on the Vrak or any other alien race. They argued that the power to shape their destiny lay within their own hands, and that they should reject any form of outside influence. The rebellion was gaining support among the colonies, and it seemed that civil war was becoming inevitable as the human race fought over their future direction. Eva's thoughts were consumed by the mounting tension. She had spent her entire life studying technology and its potential to improve humanity's future, but now she was faced with a reality she never expected: an all-out war between humans themselves and a race of invaders who sought to control the galaxy. It was clear that the choices they made in the coming days would define not just humanity's future, but the future of every species in the galaxy. The search for the Starfall device continued, but the race was no longer just about finding the weapon. It was about deciding whether humanity would use it to secure their place in the galaxy or risk becoming the very thing they had fought so hard to avoid: an empire built on fear and destruction. No matter what happened next, Eva knew that humanity could never go back to the way things were. Their future was now bound to the choices they made in this moment. The discovery of the Starfall device location had set off a chain of events that no one could have predicted. As the alliance with the Vrak grew stronger, so did the internal divisions within humanity. The military now had access to more advanced weapons than ever before, and the colonies were beginning to thrive under the protection of their energy shields and gravity manipulation systems. But even as humanity's technological capabilities expanded, the political landscape became more fragmented. Those who believed in the alliance with the Varrock argued that the weapon must be found and used to ensure humanity's survival, while others remained adamant that humanity could not allow themselves to become pawns in the Varrock's game. Eva Hartley watched in frustration as each passing day brought new debates and delays. She had spent years working toward this moment, and now that they were so close to securing the device, it felt like the galaxy itself was on the brink of collapse. The Varrock were not the only players on the stage. Now the unknown alien race was growing more aggressive, and soon other factions in the galaxy would join the conflict in an attempt to stake their own claims to the device. Every race had their own agenda, and humanity's role in the upcoming galactic struggle was still uncertain. The human fleet had been deployed to various locations across the galaxy in search of the Starfall device. Each ship was equipped with the latest technology, but the search was slow and dangerous. Every jump into uncharted space was a risk, and the unknown aliens were never far behind. Despite their initial successes, humanity's forces were being stretched thin. The war had already claimed the lives of millions, and the longer the search continued, the more fragile the alliance with the Varrock became. Tensions between the two species were growing as secrets began to surface. The Varrock had been withholding information about the Starfall device. Its location was not the only secret they had kept hidden, and now some human leaders began to question if the Varrock were truly on their side, or if they had their own plans for the device. Eva's mind was heavy with these thoughts as she led the mission to find the Starfall device. The team was moving deeper into the wreckage of the Varrock colony, where the device was said to be hidden. Their journey was taking them into hostile territory. The alien invaders had already discovered their presence, and skirmishes had broken out along the way. The human team was outnumbered, but they had no choice but to push forward. The Starfall device was their only hope of ending the war and securing peace for humanity. But with each passing hour, the danger increased. The unknown alien race was relentless, and their attacks were becoming more coordinated. With every step closer to the device, the stakes grew higher. Humanity's military was on edge, the political situation was unstable, and the fate of the galaxy seemed to rest on the shoulders of a few desperate individuals. The discovery of the Starfall device was supposed to be the key to victory, but now it seemed more like a ticking time bomb waiting to explode into unimaginable consequences. As the team approached the final chamber where the device was hidden, Eva knew that they were on the brink of something far greater than they could have imagined. The weapon itself was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Its energy signature was so powerful that it could destroy entire star systems with a single strike. But it wasn't just the power that worried Eva, it was the way it seemed to pulse with a kind of dark intelligence. It was as though the device itself had been waiting for something or someone to activate it. The moment had arrived. The decision was upon them. Would humanity take control of the device and risk becoming the very thing they had feared, or would they destroy it and risk losing the war? The galaxy was watching, and the future of all life was uncertain. With the weight of the galaxy on their shoulders, Eva and her team stepped forward, knowing that whatever happened next would change everything forever. As Eva and her team stood before the Starfall device, the air was thick with tension. The chamber was dimly lit, and the device itself sat in the center of the room, bathed in an eerie glow. Its surface pulsed, as if it were alive. Its energy was overwhelming, and even from a distance its power was felt by everyone in the room. Eva's heart raced as she approached the device, but her mind was conflicted. She knew that activating it could tip the balance of the war and shape humanity's future, but she also knew the risks of using such an uncontrollable weapon. The decision had never been so clear, yet so clouded by doubt. There were whispers among the team of what could happen if they used the device. Some believed that it could help humanity defeat their enemies and establish their place in the galaxy. Others feared that it would turn humanity into a ruthless empire, one that would dominate and conquer rather than seek peace. The galaxy had already witnessed the fall of the Varrock Empire, and many wondered if they were destined to repeat that same cycle. As Eva carefully examined the device, it became clear that it was far more than just a weapon. The intricate designs on its surface suggested it was not built for destruction alone. There were symbols and markings that seemed to indicate something more, something beyond the pure power that it could unleash. It was as if the device had been created with a purpose that went far beyond warfare, but what that purpose was remained a mystery. Back in the command center of the human fleet, the leaders were anxiously awaiting the report from Eva's team. Their hope was that the device would be the key to ending the war and securing a lasting peace. But as the hours passed without any communication from the team, their anxiety grew. The unknown alien race was closing in, and humanity's forces were stretched thin. Their chances of victory seemed slimmer with every passing moment. The tension back on Earth was no less intense. The political factions were growing more divided. Some leaders demanded that the device be used immediately to end the war, while others insisted that it be destroyed to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. Humanity had become a powder keg waiting to explode, and no one knew what the spark would be that would set it off. Eva stared at the device, her fingers hovering over the controls. She could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on her. Should she activate the device and risk unleashing its full potential on the galaxy, or should she destroy it and deny humanity the power to tip the balance of the war? Either choice carried unimaginable consequences, and for the first time since this entire conflict began, Eva wondered if they had been wrong to believe that they could change the fate of the galaxy. The silence in the chamber was broken by a sudden burst of static over the comms. The voice of her commanding officer crackled through and echoed in her ear. A simple order was issued. They had to make a choice now. The enemy was closing in, and the fate of humanity rested in their hands. As Eva reached out to make the final decision, her mind raced through every possibility, every outcome of what might come from this moment. She knew that whatever happened next would change everything for humanity. The galaxy was watching, and she could feel the weight of their judgment bearing down on her as she made the final choice. And as her fingers touched the controls and the device began to activate, a low hum filled the chamber like a deep vibration that resonated through their bones. It was clear that the choice had been made, but what that choice would mean for humanity was still uncertain. As the device powered up, the hum grew louder, and the air around the chamber seemed to crackle with energy. Eva's fingers remained on the controls, but the weight of the decision felt almost unbearable. The light from the device pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, as though it had a life of its own. She could feel its power resonating deep within her chest, and for a moment she feared that the galaxy itself might tremble in response to what they had just unleashed. Outside the chamber, the human fleet stood ready, their ships positioned in a defensive perimeter around the Varak colony, waiting for any sign of movement from the unknown alien invaders. The battle was fast approaching, and the stakes could not have been higher. But even with the device now activated, the question of whether it could be controlled remained unanswered. Eva had seen the devastating potential of the weapon, but what if it was something more than just a tool for destruction? What if there was something hidden within it that could be the key to peace or the key to total annihilation? As the device hummed louder, the Varak appeared in the sky above the colony, their ships descending silently. The alliance between humanity and the Varak was now under its greatest test. Would they fight side by side? Or would this new weapon turn them into enemies of the galaxy's oldest power? As the Varak fleet positioned themselves near the human ships, there was an eerie sense of calm that hung over the battlefield. For the first time since the war had begun, both sides seemed to pause as though waiting for something to give. Eva's team stood still, watching as the device continued to hum its power building. With each passing second, the room was filled with tension, and the air seemed to shimmer with energy. The symbols on the surface of the device shifted slowly as though something was unlocking within it. A sequence of lights danced across its surface, like a code being deciphered. Then, without warning, the device released a shockwave of pure energy that sent ripples across the galaxy. The shockwave was not destructive, but it was powerful enough to affect everything in its path. Communication systems flickered, and entire fleets of ships found themselves disoriented. As their systems malfunctioned, the unknown alien invaders were the first to react. They attempted to regroup, But they too were affected by the pulse of energy. Their ships faltered and slowed, and their weapon systems went offline for a brief moment. The battlefield was plunged into an unnatural silence. For the first time in the war, humanity had the upper hand. The shockwave had disabled the enemy's fleet, leaving them vulnerable, and disoriented the human and Varak fleets moved in together to press the advantage. But the true effects of the device were still unfolding. Eva had no idea if this pulse was intentional or if it had been some kind of unintended side effect of activating the Starfall device. But one thing was certain: this moment would go down in history as the turning point in the war. The unknown alien race quickly regrouped, but now they were on the defensive as the combined forces of humanity and the Varak pressed forward. The first decisive victory of the war seemed within reach. But as the Starfall device continued to pulse, it became clear that its effects were not just felt in space. They were being felt on the surface of every planet across the galaxy. The energy from the device was reaching out in ways that no one had predicted, and for better or worse, the galaxy would never be the same again. Eva watched in stunned silence as the war began to shift in their favor, but in the back of her mind, she knew that activating the Starfall device had not just changed the course of the battle, it had changed the entire balance of power in the galaxy. The consequences of their actions were still unknown, and whether humanity would rise as a force for peace or fall into the same patterns of domination that had destroyed the Varak Empire remained to be seen. But for now, humanity had won its first true victory, and the future was wide open.